What's going on, nerds? Welcome back to Comic Book Nerd Nation, episode 141. We got a small crew today. It's me, Fox2, and the whole effing Brian.
Yo, it's more like a little tag team instead
it's
of a crew.
It's really not a crew at this point, is it? This is like the very first time we just bullshit about comics, like several years ago. It was just me and you.
Before we started this glorious podcast.
Yeah, wow. That's been a long-ass time. So Pirate is not with us because he is at a bachelor party weekend full of drunken debauchery. And Topher is not with us because he is at Gen Con 2016. So I'm sure we'll have a ton of stories from him.
I dropped the ball. I should have recorded an introduction from Pirate when I saw him on Thursday.
Yeah,
to play live.
That probably would have been hilarious.
Yeah, probably.
I'm guessing he was slightly inebriated.
Yeah, when the night went on. You could say that.
Yeah, you could say that. Or you could say completely shit-faced.
Yeah.
You could also say that. Right. So, yeah, let's just jump right in. There isn't that much news. We're kind of in that, like, quiet period after San Diego Comic-Con before the news starts building back up for New York Comic-Con.
It's like the comic book news blew its load, and now we're in the resting period.
Yeah, it's really, I mean, it's kind of like you always get this big burst of news like right before and during San Diego Comic-Con, and then nobody says shit about anything until like a couple weeks out from New York Comic-Con, which is October, is that right?
Yeah, I think it's the second weekend in October this year.
Okay.
How it lands.
So, yeah, we will, I'm sure as that gets closer, we'll start getting more and more information. So this might be a little bit shorter episode, but we'll have fun anyway. And I'm kind of excited about the stuff that we do have to talk about is pretty good stuff. So let's just jump right in. I thought I'd start off with kind of a funny, strange story that I found. 50 Cent, rapper 50 Cent, is developing a superhero drama TV show for the Stars channel that he wrote.
But we already have Luke Cage coming out.
And that's what everyone involved has already said, that it is extremely close to the Marvel's Luke Cage storyline.
Let me guess, he plays the main superhero.
Oh, well, of course.
In his story.
Of course. This is ridiculous. This is what I was really kind of worried about, or have been worried about. Just the fact that superhero comic book genre of multimedia is becoming so popular in TV, in movie format. The comics themselves have been doing fairly good. It's what's popular in mainstream culture right now. And because of that, you get these people like 50 Cent that are just going to jump on the bandwagon to try and earn a quick buck. He doesn't give a shit about a superhero anything. Like, don't kid yourself. He couldn't give a fuck less about comic books or anything. And now we're going to have this half-assed attempt to just basically, he just wants to get his piece of the pie, and that's it. And it's going to make for a really shitty story. I'm sure it is.
I'm sure people are going to look at this, if it even gets, like, finalized and developed and made. People are
it's in development.
Is it?
Yeah, it's in development.
It's going. The train's rolling.
The train is rolling. From what I read, the train is rolling.
People are going to look at this and be like,
yeah, it's in production right now.
What the fuck? Does it have a name?
Yeah, this is the best part. I saved the best for last. The name is Tomorrow Today.
What does that even mean? That sounds like a James Bond.
Well, I'm just saying, like, you can't exactly expect that 50 Cent is like a literary genius. Yes, he wrote some cool rap songs, but he's not a writer. He doesn't come up with storylines and plots and character development and, like, how much can you... He's used to writing 2-minute songs, minute and a half songs. How much can you really expect from this? He has to my knowledge, zero experience writing any kind of script or any kind of in any kind of story. Now he might have, I guess, maybe Get Rich or Die Trying. He might have been involved in writing that script, but I just can't imagine, like, that wasn't really hard. Isn't that like pretty much based on his life?
Yeah, I think so.
So,
Really.
like, how hard can it be to write a script about your own life? You know, that to me, I don't know. I don't see the appeal in this. Do you? I mean, help me out here.
No, there's nothing appealing to me about that.
Okay, so he has written 4 things. All Things Fall Apart, which is a screenplay. It doesn't even. I don't even know if that became a movie.
I've never heard of that.
Yes, it did become a movie. Wow. Of course, he was the star in it. Ray Liotta was in it.
Yeah, Ray Liotta's in anything nowadays.
That is a very, very valid point. He wrote Gun and Before I Self-Destruct. None of which I've ever heard of.
No.
So again, why? Like, what? How does this?
Like you said, he's jumping on the bandwagon.
That's it. That's exactly it. It's unfortunate because what's going to happen is this will be somewhat popular. Like, it will do okay. There's enough people out there that are loyal fans of 50 Cent for whatever reason that they'll watch it. They'll support it. So it'll do okay. And what does that do? It opens the door for other people that have no real vested interest in the comic book industry into developing these shitty knockoffs that is basically, I mean, this is really basically a fucking ripoff of Luke Cage. I mean, in the information, it said right here that the boy, let's see, story bears strong resemblance to the origin of Marvel's Luke Cage. And the director, which is John Singleton, is the one that's calling that out. I don't know, man. This is whatever. Fuck it. Fuck him. I'm not gonna watch it.
It's ridiculous.
Like literally 0% chance of me watching that.
The only way I watch it is somebody straps me down and opens my eyeballs.
Yeah, and even then they would have to like tape my eyes open because I probably would just fall asleep. In other TV news, though, ABC is in talks with Lucasfilm about potentially having a Star Wars TV series. Now, this is cool. How do you feel about this? Because I think that this is one of those things that if it's good, it would be great. If it's not, it could be too much. Too much of a good thing isn't always a good thing.
Yeah,
and I think we're close to that with Star Wars. I really do.
I don't know if I really like it being on ABC because ABC is a family network. So really, how much can you really
do? Yeah.
do? What kind of story can it be?
Well, I just like, to me, part of what has always, growing up with Star Wars and stuff, part of what has made Star Wars so much fun and just enhanced the experience of Star Wars was the wait between films, the wait, going to the opening night show, standing in line to get your tickets, all those things, because there was such a high demand because of such a low quantity of quality Star Wars stuff. We're really ramping up the amount of Star Wars stuff that's out there. And it's all in universe. It's all in canon now. So you've got books, you've got comic books, you've got video games, you've got cartoons, you've got movies every year now. So the wait is no longer there. So at what point, if you have a movie every year, you have books and comic books coming out weekly, and then you have a TV show that's on weekly for X number of months, at what point do we have Star Wars overload where it stops becoming valuable? It stops getting as much interest because of the fact that it's there all the fucking time, you know?
Well, I mean, if you look at it, I mean, Star Wars has lasted from the first three movies. It lasted, the craze for Star Wars lasted all the way over to the three prequels, which people, it survived them because those weren't that great or good at all. And then to these new movies, the cartoons they've done, well, the recent cartoons they've done, because I don't know how good that old one Droids were.
I never saw it.
Neither have I. I think that was way, like we were really young when that came out. But you know, the cartoons have been a big hit from like Clone Wars to what's this new one? I should know because I watch it all the time. Rebels.
Yeah, Rebel. Yeah.
I just don't like it. If this is a bad TV show, it's still Star Wars will still survive.
I agree, but I guess what point do you, as a Star Wars fan, start making the conscious decision that, like, okay, this week I've spent enough of my time on Star Wars and I want to spend more of my time. You know, we talk about, like, the other comic book shows. There's so many good comic book TV shows, you can't watch them all, so you have to make the decision to cut some from your own schedule. You know, I have a pecking order. You have a pecking order. For me, it's Flash first, Arrow second, and anything else I can fit in after that. But, you know, at what point, if they introduce Star Wars, does that even hit your radar? Or does it become, oh, well, yeah, I'll watch that every week, but then when the movie comes out, I'm not as amped to see more Star Wars because I'm getting my Star Wars fix elsewhere, you know, because the movie schedule also, there's a ton of new movies coming out that are all crazy good looking. You know?
I guess it all depends on your preference. I mean, I understand what you're saying. Like at first when that cartoon Rebels came out, I'm like, it's on Disney Channel, whatever. And then once I finally started watching it one day when there was nothing else on, I mean, I fell in love with it. It was such a good cartoon. It's a dark cartoon for being on like a kid's cartoon channel. I mean, I guess it all depends for me on like how good it is. Whether it goes into my like folder of many shows to watch.
Yeah, I don't know if I mean, I'm sure I would give it a try.
Yeah.
But again, like, limited amount of time with so many different things that I would like to spend my time doing as far as recreation goes. You know, there's all the video games that are coming out. There's movies to go see. There's TV show, you know, other TV shows. There's just so much stuff. And I don't know that, man, I don't know that a Star Wars TV, and I love Star Wars, I really do. I can't wait for Rogue One to come out. I can't wait for Episode 8 to come out. But I just don't know that a TV show is going to make the cut.
Yeah, it all depends when they put it on, what TV season they put it on.
Yeah.
Because there's so much stuff between the fall and the summer that you're just like, okay, how do I watch these? When do I watch these? What comes first?
Mm-hmm. I completely understand. I don't know.
If it's like the summer season, there's really nothing on during the summer. Nothing on TV. A few shows.
And that would probably be the best time for them to do it too, because that's the opposite of when their movies come out. Their movies come out in December.
Yeah.
So it would be nice, you know, kind of opposite ends of the year, so you're not getting Star Wars overload.
Off the top of my head right now, the fall season brings Walking Dead, Arrow, Flash, Legends of Tomorrow, Agents of Shield.
Big
I'm
Bang
probably
Theory.
Big Bang Theory for people who watch that. There's a lot of shows. I mean, I can't think of them all, but oh, and then this fall season comes Luke Cage. Um,
Daredevil.
Whenever Daredevil comes out, but before that is Defenders, Iron Fist. Whenever those come out, I don't think there's an exact date for them yet, but
Yeah,
there's just so much shit.
crazy.
Plus, like movies that are coming out, Doctor Strange,
The King
Doctor
Kong movie.
King Kong. Like,
I can't even remember them all right now.
yeah,
The Justice League movie is going to be coming out not too long. Wonder Woman. You know,
it's like
then
hard
you've got
to
all
like
the Marvel
value,
stuff.
especially us being older. You know, we work,
Yeah,
we get home from work, and we're just like tired. We're doing other stuff we have to do. It's like, okay, how full is my DVR, and what am I actually going to watch off my DVR that I don't watch live?
that's it. That's it.
It's crazy that all these shows come out. It's like you gotta, certain ones have to be on certain times. They have to split it up.
It's really, it's really. I know we say it like every week, but it is the greatest time to be alive as a geek, as a nerd.
Yeah.
Like into this stuff from being a child. Like there is no better time. The '90s was pretty cool too, just from a nostalgic standpoint. The cartoons that were on in the '90s were just so much better than they are now,
Yep.
at least in my opinion. But you know, the '80s and '90s. But as far as movies and television shows, good lord,
They're everywhere.
they really are. So Marvel made an announcement that Avengers Infinity War Part 1 and 2 will no longer be two movies. It's going to be crammed into one movie. How do you feel about
Yeah.
this?
I heard that like they're not going to be two parts. They're going to be two separate movies. We're going to still get them at the same time. I don't know what they're doing. I don't understand it. Like, are they going to be two separate movies, but they're going to still revolve around the same story that they were going to? I mean, the first one is called Infinity War or something like that still, right?
Yeah, it's just called Infinity War.
Because I heard that, you know, the first movie we're getting is going to kind of like tell you Thanos' backstory a little bit. So you get to be involved with that character instead of like what he's been so far, a big purple guy giving out orders,
Yeah,
trying to get these
learn a
super
little bit about him. Yeah.
weapons. I mean, if they do it good enough, then I have no problem with it.
I really liked the idea of having Infinity War be a two-part movie.
Yeah.
Just because there's a lot there. You know, there's a lot that you can cover. You have the story behind Thanos. You have the story behind the Gauntlet. You have the story behind each of the individual gems that you need to tie in. You know, so there's a lot of moving parts here. Plus, then you have to interweave all of the superhero characters. So, you know, that could be anything from all the Avengers to just some of the Avengers. It could have the Guardians of the Galaxy involved. It might not. It could theoretically have Doctor Strange involved as well. We don't really know who's going to be included in this yet.
Yeah.
But it has to be quite a bit of the known characters of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Otherwise, it's not going to have any kind of gravity to it. And I really hope they don't do what they did with Civil War. I liked Civil War the movie, but they cut down the number of characters in it so much compared to the comic books. And obviously, it would never be able to replicate the comic book, especially not in one movie. But that's how they were able to fit it into one movie, was to really trim the extra, I don't want to call it fat, but trim the extra details off. And I think that, for me at least, reading the Civil War comic book story, that was the stuff that really made that story shine. All the little side stories, all the stories about the different characters, and why they felt the way that they felt towards the main events of Civil War and the legislation. And so you got to know quite a bit of different, you got to really see different points of view and why they felt the way they felt. And that really built the story up in a way that was just not there in the film. And that's what I hope they don't do in Infinity War, because if they just, they've mentioned the stones, they've shown glimpses of Thanos. I just hope they don't just throw us into it and he's already got all of them or whatever. I don't know. I don't know how they're going to do it, but
yeah, that's true too. They have to kind of show him collecting the stones,
and that's a lot because they've only shown 3, I think, thus far.
No, I think they're only missing 2. So we got
that's
4 of them.
There's 5 right now, right? Or there's
6 altogether.
Total, yeah. So they've shown. You think they've shown 4 so far?
Well, the Tesseract was 1.
Yep.
The staff was 2. Then the one in Thor, the ether or whatever it was.
Wait, wait a minute, wasn't the staff the Tesseract?
No, the Tesseract and the staff were separate.
Oh, okay.
The cosmic.
Okay.
They showed the one in Dark World,
okay,
the ether or whatever, and the purple one in Guardians, the Power Stone.
Truth. Okay, that's 4.
So that's 4.
So we're missing 2.
2 more. So I'm guessing one's going to be in Doctor Strange. I don't know how many movies we have until then.
That's what I'm saying.
And
they're kind of running out of time to build it. I'm sure they have a plan. I can't imagine them going into something that big without a plan, but
yeah,
I just hope they don't rush it. I hope they don't try and put too much in one movie. I just want them to do it justice. I'm sure it'll be a good movie. I'm sure, just like I said, Civil War was a great movie. I really enjoyed it. It was fun. But it pales in comparison to the comic book story. If you're listening to this podcast and you watched Civil War, the movie, but haven't read the Civil War comic book storyline, go out, do yourself a favor and go out and get the trade paperback, like the collected version, and read it through. It's hard to beat. It's got to be. I'm typically more of a fan of the DC crossover storylines and stuff, but Civil War is easily in my top 2 or 3 crossover events, period, ever. I mean, I think you probably are right there with me on that.
Yeah, I think Civil War is number 2 on my crossover events, collective crossover events between DC and Marvel.
I mean, Blackest Night is hard to beat.
Yeah, Blackest Night was my number 1.
Yeah, Blackest Night's hard to beat, but I'd say Civil War comes in right on its heels. For me, Forever Evil is up there. I really enjoyed that one. But good Lord, it's you got to read that one if you haven't.
Do they have an explanation of why they separated the 2 movies?
I probably should have looked for that. I didn't, but I will. Let me see if I can't get you a little information on that. See if I can find the write up on it. I don't know. It's here we go. Marvel renames Avengers 3 and 4. The Infinity War storyline, or at least the title, will now purportedly be solely on for the 2018 Avengers film. It does not say the intent. Oh, here we go. The intention is we will change it. We just have to come up with titles yet. So, because what they did is they retitled the 4th Avengers movie as Untitled Avengers. So it very well could be that they are playing the long ball on this one, and they're going to have Avengers Infinity War be the 2018 film, and then in 2019 come out and announce late what the title of that's going to be after the release of Infinity War, and it could be something that reflects on the story, some kind of fallout from the story of Avengers 3. That's the other theory that I kind of have. So we'll, I don't know. We'll have to see. I'm looking forward to it for sure. I think that it could be amazing having the big screen Thanos. Ooh, man, be dope. Can't wait.
Yeah.
So let's take a minute and talk about Suicide Squad. It record breaking, actually. I'm interested to get your take. I know you've already seen it. I'm going with my fiance to see it tomorrow. But we have a quick statistic. It took in $20.5 million at the box office on its preview Thursday night, breaking the record which was previously held by Guardians of the Galaxy at $11.2 million. It shattered Guardians of the Galaxy's record. I suspected that this movie would do really well at the box office regardless of the negative reviews that it's gotten. I've heard personal reviews from people that I know, friends and stuff, that have gone and seen it, and very little negative to say. I've heard it's a fun movie. I've heard that there's a lot of good stuff. There's a few negatives, but I've heard overall it's a pretty good movie. Brian, I'd be interested to hear your take on it. We're going to try and keep this spoiler free, especially since I really want to go see this tomorrow. I can't wait. I've been looking forward to it for a long time.
I saw it opening night. Everybody knows that I wasn't too thrilled about it. Seeing it, it wasn't that bad. Will Smith didn't irk me that much. He wasn't that bad. Jared Leto's Joker wasn't that bad, but I don't think it was anything better than Heath Ledger's. The movie in itself wasn't bad. I thought it was better than Batman v Superman. Trying to piece this together in my head without spoiling anything. There was a couple of scenes where it felt like some pacing issues, but overall the movie wasn't dragged out. It didn't seem that it wasn't like that fast of a pace. It was pretty moderate. I didn't feel like I was sitting there forever watching it.
Let me interrupt you here for just 1 second. We're gonna you won't even notice it, people that are watching or listening, but we're gonna take a quick break for technical reasons, and then we will be right back. Okay, nerds, we're back, and sorry for the break there. I know it happened in a split second, but we were discussing Suicide Squad. You saw it, had good pacing, had Will Smith didn't distract you too much. How did Harley Quinn steal the show as expected?
She was really good. I mean, her accent kind of was distracting at times because it was very I guess Brooklyn-ish. We're used to the squeaky, almost like Valley Girl type voice they use in the animated series. But she wasn't bad. But who stole the show in my eyes was Viola Davis, the actress who plays Amanda Waller.
Yeah.
She was really good. She made Amanda Waller look like she was this fucked up individual. How can you do this to people?
Wow.
Even if they're criminals. She was really stone-faced. Basically, the things I really liked were the pacing of the movie. The actors were good in their roles. The ties they have to the bigger DC universe. How they introduced the characters were good without taking too much time on it. And the story in general wasn't that bad. The things I didn't like were the tattoos. At times distracted me. There were times I forgot about them where it didn't oh, why do they have all these tattoos? But then there was time.
Joker?
Yeah, Joker and Harley.
Okay.
and then there were um and then there were scenes where I was just like, they were like in your face. I was just, oh yeah, they're there. Um, there was one scene in particular with the Joker I didn't like. I'm not going to describe it. I'm going to let everybody see it for themselves. But when they go to Harley's backstory, there's one scene. I had said this about how they made the Joker, how I felt the Joker looked like from the trailers, and this scene kind of backed that up. But then that was just that one scene. The rest of the scenes, we're fine with it. We're good with him. But I still don't think, like, to me, I don't know if you felt it's the same way, but to me, whenever they talked about Jared Leto's Joker, it always felt like they were making it out to be the best Joker yet. I don't know if you felt the same way about all the things that came out. And
I didn't necessarily feel that way, but I did feel like they were trying to level the playing field and make him comparable to Heath Ledger's Joker.
okay, yes,
I think they were trying to put it on the same like playing field because Heath Ledger's Joker was so much better and more over the top than any other Joker that we've ever seen. Like, hands down, 100% better. That they wanted to associate it with that level of character development and commitment. And I think that's why we heard so many of the stories about how seriously Jared Leto was taking it and all, all these things, which were a lot of the same kind of things that Heath Ledger was doing when he really dove into that role. I think they wanted to establish that their take on the character was different but equal, I think was what they were going for.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen the movie yet, so I'm not sure how I feel about it.
That's how I felt about it. Exactly same that way. But all in all, it was good. I don't think it was better than Guardians. I mean, Guardians was like a really fun movie and really like I was entertained highly by it. This movie, wasn't as bad as I was saying it was going to be, but I wouldn't put it up there with Guardians.
I think Guardians was a great movie, and it was really, really fun. It had funny moments, it had action moments, it had drama moments, it had all of those things that make a really wonderful movie. And I think what's really carrying this movie, Suicide Squad, at least for the opening weekend, is not necessarily the quality of the movie or the script or the story. It's the notoriety of the characters involved.
Yeah, like Joker, Harley.
Yes, Joker, Harley, Deadshot is fairly popular due to the Arrow series. Not to mention you've got Will Smith playing it, so that his notoriety helps. You've got Amanda Waller from Arrow, also a notable character that people in the general public are identifying with. You've got Batman in the movie, coming off of Batman v Superman, which did pretty good numbers. A lot of people said that Ben Affleck was the best Batman, so him being in it helps the movie. Yeah. So there's a lot in this movie that helps it before the release, whereas Guardians had really nothing as far as the general public goes, because very, very few, if any at all, of the average moviegoers that are not comic book fans had any idea what Guardians of the Galaxy was, didn't know about Star-Lord or Rocket Raccoon or Groot, or any of the characters involved whatsoever. They just saw the trailer and said, wow, that looks like a really fun movie. And it was. And that's what did it for that movie, which is why the replay value of that movie is so high. It's one of those movies I can just throw on and have it on in the background while I'm doing something else, because the soundtrack is incredible. Each scene is incredible. So if I only catch 15 minutes of the movie, I know whatever 15 minutes I'm catching is going to be entertaining. So it's just one of those type of movies. Is Suicide Squad that kind of movie? I don't know. I haven't seen it. It doesn't sound like it from what you're saying, but it sounds like it's worth seeing based on the the assembling of some really awesome characters.
I mean, that also another thing that you just brought up with Ben Affleck and Batman, and they don't overuse them. They don't saturate the movie with them. The way they use them is really good, though. It's the perfect amount in the perfect way.
I mean, what percentage of the movie would you say that he's in?
Like 5%.
Oh, really? So he's a really like a super auxiliary character in this.
Yeah, the way they use them fits in the movie perfectly.
Good.
I mean, perfectly.
I'm glad that they went that route to tie them together rather than like just, oh, wow, Batfleck did really good in this movie. Let's dump some more in there.
There's like one surprise in the movie. I'm not going to give it away. I'm going to wait till at least
another week.
We've all seen it. Like maybe next week if like the collective of us saw it.
Yeah.
But the way the surprise was pretty good, and the way they connect it to the bigger scale universe was pretty good.
That's awesome. I'm really, especially coming from you, who you're, you know,
I had no expectations for this movie at all.
Typically, you're much more on the Marvel side for movies than the DC side. So for you to come all the way around and say, you know, from when we first heard about it, it was going to be poop, all the way to this is a pretty good movie. I'm really excited to see it. I can't wait till we can like talk about the movie in detail. Hopefully, Topher and Pirate will see it this week as well, and we can discuss next week. But we'll just have to see what they say. But I'm definitely going to see that shit tomorrow for sure. It's on the schedule. But that's about it for this episode. We appreciate you tuning in. We've had a ton of new listeners on our audio only versions. Remember, you can check us out on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher. I think there's a gang of other apps that you can stream us from. Not to mention we're available on YouTube. So yeah, search that shit out and share it with your friends. I'm Fox 2. We got the whole mother effing Brian.
Yep, and no one else, because fuck them.
Yeah, what he said.